Welcome you back to the News Tribune Forum for Cole County Assessor. And tonight, follow my script here, sorry. Tonight we have Cole County Assessor Chris Estes, a Republican, who will be here answering questions. He is being challenged by Greg Rollins, who has declined to participate in tonight's forum. So we will follow the same format that we did with the Western District Commissioners, in which we will have an opening statement from Chris of a minute, and then we have questions we'll ask of him, and then he'll be given an opportunity for closing statement. All right, so Chris, you may make your opening statement.
I've been assessor in Cole County since November of 2007. During that time, we've been one of the most accurate counties in the state of Missouri on our values. What that means to the taxpayers is that you're not paying any more or any less than what you should be paying, and no specific group is carrying the burden for the taxation. I have one of the best staffs in the state of Missouri, and they are my biggest asset, and I have two jobs: to take care of them and to take care of the taxpayers of Cole County. And I think we do a good job doing that, and that is why I am running for re-election, and I would ask for your vote.
All right. So, Chris, why did you decide to run for re-election, or in the first place? You mentioned this would be your second term, so why did you decide to run?
Actually, third term, but that's
all right. Sorry, third term.
I worked in public service for quite a while. I was a police officer for several years until an injury put me out of that. I've worked for the state. I've seen a lot of things in government that are good, and I see a lot of things in government that are bad. One of my least favorite sayings is, "We've never done it that way." I think that is a dangerous statement. And I decided that if I was going to have anything to do with making government better, I would have to get involved directly. You can make more changes from the inside than you can from the outside. And that kind of goes to one of my rules, or my morals, I guess you would say. We have a set of rules that we have to operate under. Those are state statutes and court decisions. Not all of them are good. Most of them are very good. The ones that aren't good, we need to try to change. But until you get that change, you still have to operate underneath those rules. I believe in fair assessments and equal treatment for everybody. Nobody gets any different than anybody else in the county. We still got time?
You do.
Okay. Can you repeat this question for me again?
Why did you decide to run?
Okay. Mostly it was about making a change in government, knowing that I could affect a specific area. I could put my integrity and my honesty to work for the citizens of Cole County. And I think that's what every elected official should do. I think a lot of times elected officials forget that they work for the taxpayers, and they think they work for government, but it's actually the taxpayers they work for.
All right, thank you. In your opening statement, you made mention that you thought the operation was operating well. Your office was operating well. In that assessment, how do you believe it's operating well? Be specific with us about what is working well within the department, challenges you may be facing in the future.
Okay. The main thing I look at is, the accuracy that we have attained in Cole County. In the last 8 years, we have been in the top 4 most accurate counties in the state of Missouri. The State Tax Commission does what they call ratio studies, where they compare the value of a house, they take the sale price of that house, and they compare it to the value that the assessors had. We've had some of the best numbers in the state consistently. That is providing service to the taxpayers. The personal property portion of my office deals with probably 100 people a day on average, and sometimes a lot more than that. And I think the assessor's office is an often misunderstood position. They often call it the tax assessor. We actually just value property. And with the training and the skills and the experience that the employees have in that office, under my guidance, we serve the citizens of Cole County better. From explanations for how to get your tax receipt to filling out your assessment sheet, and I have an open door policy. If anybody comes into the office or anybody calls and they want to talk to the assessor, they talk to me, regardless about what the issue is.
Okay. Do you see this as a part-time or a full-time job, and why?
Oh, it's absolutely a full-time job. It's actually sometimes a full-time and a half job. The first 3 years I was in office, there was a fairly large learning curve. I had a background in law enforcement, which I used in the law enforcement. I read the statutes, I applied the statutes, and I had to do that fairly inequitably between all citizens. Taking that experience to the assessor's office, I actually interviewed the previous assessor before he went to work for the state and asked him what he spent the majority of his time doing. And he pointed at the law books and he said, I spend at least a third of my time reviewing the law. Well, knowing that I had the experience of reading and applying statute with the city of Jefferson and also with the state of Missouri, plus coupled with my background in construction, I've got approximately 15 years in the construction industry, including 5 years of general contractor owning my own business. It gave me the background to do the job as the job needed to be done. Now, as I said, there was a stiff learning curve, and for someone who doesn't have some type of background, I won't say it's impossible, but they would spend at least their first term just learning the job. I still learn things every day, just about. Recently, we've been dealing with Amber and UE in an appeal they filed, which amounts to about $600,000 in tax dollars, and I've traveled from St. Charles to Cooper County to the Lake of the Ozarks to Columbia for meetings and conferences with other assessors. So this is not something that you can necessarily do in a 40-hour week without having a good staff. Now, the first couple of years I was working 50 and 60-hour weeks, and for first 3 years I didn't take a vacation. So this is absolutely a full-time job.
Okay. So what is your expectation of the amount of hours needed to put in each week? I mean, you mentioned your first year, but at this point, you say you have a very competent staff. What is the expectation of the hours for this office now?
It's at least a 40-hour job. It is definitely a 40-hour job. There are days that I might not get into the office until 10 o'clock in the morning because I've been out in the county reviewing property or talking to business owners or actually, quite honestly, looking to see what my staff is doing out in the county. And I'll get into the office and it might be 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night before I leave, just to take care of the things that come in on a daily basis. We spent a full day up in Callaway County a couple of weeks ago being deposed by the attorneys from Amberin, and it was a full day just to take care of those items. So I think it takes a lot of time, it really does, and if you are not skilled or have a background in this type of work, you're going to have to spend 50 to 60 hours a week at it. If you've got a handle on things, most of the time you can get by with 40 hours a week, but there are those times that you will have to work more than that.
Okay. So you mentioned you will be out in the field. So how much hands-on work is required of the assessor?
Well, it depends on the given day. As far as the office is concerned, right now we're a little short. We need a general certified appraiser, which is someone who can value commercial property, industrial property, and others. There are two classifications of appraiser, and there are three types of property. There's agricultural, residential, and commercial. The commercial includes industrial and other, so anything that doesn't fit into agricultural, anything that doesn't fit into residential goes into that third category. We currently don't have anybody that is certified by the state to do that type of work, and I've only got one person on staff who's been working on it, so I've had to do some of that work on a daily basis. There are phone calls to be made, there are emails to exchange, there are we yearly have the budget to do. We have a maintenance plan that's due with State Tax Commission every 2 years. I have to keep myself abreast of what State Tax Commission decisions have been made and how that relates on other property. As like an appeal going forward, it gets to the State Tax Commission level, the State Tax Commission makes a decision, then that decision applies to any other case that is similar to that. So you have to take abreast of that, and it's not only the cases that happen in your county, it's cases that happen in other counties also. In addition, when the legislature is in session, we receive fiscal notes that the legislators are requesting, costs on different things, how a certain bill will affect the finances, so we have to respond to those items also.
Okay. In your answer, you mentioned that you were in need of a general certified assessor. And if I understood you right, you implied that you are certified as a general?
No, I am not certified as
Okay.
a general. No,
All right.
I am not.
So can you do assessments, and is that the role of the assessor?
I would say in most offices, the assessor is directly involved in doing valuations. We set up modeling based on costs throughout the county. The need for a certified appraiser comes into effect when you go to the appeals level. In the state of Missouri, you're not required to be an appraiser or state certified or anything to work in the assessor's office. Anybody in this room I could put to work tomorrow as an appraiser. Now, in my office, I choose not to do that. I try to find people who have qualifications, who have a background in it, and they do go to training in the hopes of becoming a certified appraiser. I think this brings a higher level of professionalism and accuracy to the office. So we have counties in the state where there will be nobody in the office who is actually a certified appraiser. It's not required at that level. But when you get to the State Tax Commission, when you are at that appeal level, you have to have a certified appraiser and submit a certified appraisal. So currently, I've had to contract with local general certified appraisers when we have a commercial or industrial property that has been appealed.
Okay. All right. You've clashed with the Cole County Commission in the past, even going to court over the use of the Cole County Assessors Fund, which state statute dedicates to expenses of running the assessor's office. You and the commission wound up in court over whether the assessor's use of county computer and information system services should be funded from general revenue or the Assessors Fund. You've said you stand by that decision, even though the case was not ruled in your favor. Do you still believe those expenses should be paid from general revenue? Why or why not?
I do not believe that they should be paid from general revenue. In the statute, there are a list of items that cannot be used for the assessment fund. And briefly, the assessment fund is a set of monies that are taken from the political subdivisions and given to the county specifically for the use of assessment purposes. There are certain things you can and cannot do with it. One of the items that you cannot do with it is pay for any type of operation that would be considered the overhead costs of an office. The county uses what's called the Maximus study. It's a company who does a study every year on the functions of the county. Some of the items that they're charging me for, they call it, well, initially they called it computer services, now they call it professional services. But some of the items that I'm paying for are payroll, the cost for the accounting department or the treasurer's office to write out the paychecks for my employees, CPU usage on the county computer, except now that the assessor's office has their own mainframe, and it's paid for out of the assessment fund, so county money did not pay for it in any way. Normally in most counties, the assessment fund funds a portion of the office and general revenue funds the rest of it. In Cole County, the assessor's office receives no general revenue funds whatsoever. What we operate on is strictly the assessment funds. Some of the other items that we pay for are our telephones and our telephone usage. They have a category called printers, and we're actually charged for the printer by the number of pages printed or the number of copies made. The assessor's office buys its printers, buys its paper, and buys its toner all from the assessment fund. So there is no cost whatsoever to the county for those items.
Okay. So given that you and the county commission are in an impasse over this, what is your plan if you're reelected for dealing with this situation in the future?
The courts have ruled that I have to pay it, so I will pay it.
Okay.
You know, like I said, the rules are the rules. You know, when the rule stands, that's what you have to follow, even if it's a bad one. And you follow it until you get it changed, if you can get it changed.
All right. We have a question from a reader. Stacy Pringer asks, what makes you qualified for this position?
More than just my love of public service, as I stated earlier, my background in law enforcement has exposed me to the law, to reading, interpreting, and applying the law. My position with the state of Missouri as a fraud investigator in the unemployment office additionally gave me cause to read, interpret, and apply the law. Plus, my construction background gives me the knowledge to know what type of structure it is. Is it good quality construction? Is it in need of maintenance? Have there been deferred maintenance maybe on it? All of these things affect the value of a property. So that background plus my fairly good math skills, I think, is what some of the things are that really qualify me.
All right. Another question from Nick Niekamp. How do you distinguish between improvement and repair and maintenance? Should the assessed valuation of a home increase because the homeowner does maintenance and repair?
It all goes to what the actual market value of the house is. If a house has had deferred maintenance and is in poor condition, if the house were to sell, it would not sell as high as it would if the maintenance had been kept up. So obviously, if somebody does work to their home, if they keep it nice, it's going to maintain a higher value. And I know that some people have told me that this is an incentive to not take care of your home. I would hope most people don't think like that, but I can understand how they would see that. An improvement would be more what I would consider to be an addition. If you added a room or say a bedroom or a bathroom or build a garage or an attached garage, or if you went from a asbestos, or I'm sorry, not asbestos, but a shingle-type roof to a metal-type roof, those could be considered improvements. And according to what state statute says, we have to value the property at market value. And what the assessor does is we do not set the value, we interpret what the market is telling us. And we do that through several steps. We have the cost analysis, we have the sales comparisons analysis, and we have the income analysis. Now, obviously, the income analysis does not apply to residential. That is mainly to commercial and industrial. Agricultural, that's a whole different group because the state of Missouri sets the value on agricultural land. We have no control over how that value is set.
All right, thank you. That concludes the questions that I have for you. And you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Thank you. I would like to thank the citizens of Cole County for putting their faith in me for the last almost 9 years. I think that we have one of the best assessor's offices in the state of Missouri. I can tell you that since I've been in office, the surplus that we have in the assessment fund has increased about $250,000, and that's including having spent approximately $300,000 for a new computer system. We went from the old AS400 system, which was getting a little bit outdated. It was hard to find people to work on it, and we went to a Windows-based system, which is a little more modern and is being kept up well. We don't spend money that we don't need to. We try to retain the qualified, experienced people that we have. And one of the things I've been trying to do for the last couple of years is plan for the future. I'm not going to be in that office forever. I have 2 people who are less than 5 years from retirement, and these are 2 very valuable people. One has 32 years, the other one has about 12 years. And you can't just find somebody on the street to just pop in those positions. It takes time and training to get somebody to be able to do those jobs. So that's what I've been planning for the future.
All right, thank you. And again, I want to thank everyone. Chris, I want to thank you for coming to the forum tonight, as well as everyone here in attendance and watching by online, as well as JCTV. I want to remind everyone to go to the polls on August 2nd, as well as I need to put a plug in for my company here. Check out the News Tribune for more election coverage. We will be having more stories as Election Day approaches. If you're on Twitter, you can ask questions of the candidates. We will take them to the candidates using the hashtag #MoVotes. It will get to us, and you can also send by email to vote@newstribune.com. And my last thing I would mention is next Tuesday, same location, same time, 6 o'clock, we will have a forum for the 3 sheriff's candidates. So again, I thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Gary.